that. So what we have here now is a joint meeting. The Board of Selectmen began their meeting at 7. We're now up here for a joint meeting with the Planning Board. Do you guys need to do anything like counting the gavel and call the order?
We'll call the order.
All right, great. And we are here to have a joint discussion with representatives of Boston Properties in connection with the proposed 40B project at 133 Boston Post Road. I want to emphasize a few things going in. This is a very complicated project, and much more complicated than the usual 40B project, because there are so many different parties that have, in some ways, more say than usual. The Planning Board has some say, more than in the usual 40B situation, because of the proposal including some expansion of the commercial space. The Board of Selectmen have some say because the amendment that we signed on to explicitly contemplates additional conditions to be set by the Board of Selectmen. And then, of course, the voters have more say than in the usual 40B, because part of that, making that amendment final, is having it accepted at a town meeting. So this makes things a little more complicated. One way it makes things more complicated is the possibility for confusion as to hearing different messages from different parties having different understandings about where they stand or where the process stands. And so the idea here is to try to get at least some resolution where we can about substantive matters, get some understandings about process going forward and who's doing what, and try to make this process more understandable and clear to everyone, so that we can either move forward in a productive manner or at least accept what potential problems there are. I want to emphasize this was publicized primarily, and I'm glad to see so many people here, because I think that there are a number of misperceptions out there. There is some confusion based on simply conflicting statements among different parties. So I'm glad to see everyone, but I want to emphasize that the primary objective of this is to try to get the Planning Board and Board of Selectmen, and ideally Boston Properties, on the same page about certain things. And in that sense, it is, as much as anything, a true meeting of those three parties. We will hopefully have some time for public input, but that will be at the end, and I don't know, we have a limited amount of time tonight because we have a very full agenda otherwise. I don't know how much time we'll have, but I would offer at least a couple of comforts. One is that I think once you hear some of the things we're going to talk about, you'll realize that some of the comments you might have wanted to give otherwise, you don't need to. For example, we've already heard from dozens and dozens of people, we don't want Church Street rail trail access. I think you'll hear that not only have we heard that, but I think to a large extent, as we've even said in some of our meetings, we share that even without it being said. I don't think there's any need, based on the ZBA meeting, for anyone to stand up and talk about how the Board of Selectmen has somehow betrayed or sold out the town by what we have done, because hopefully it will become clear that what we have done is of minimal, if any, impact, because there are so many conditions and whatnot that we need to be met going forward. So it's a little premature to throw us into the fire quite yet. I guess I would also, the last thing is, I don't think we need to hear that this process has been unpublicized. It has been publicized greatly ever since the housing production plan process, which was also described as not enough publicity. We have tried all sorts of manners of getting the message out that this stuff is going on. Website, meeting agendas, Facebook, Twitter, town crier articles. And if you have additional ideas, we're happy to hear them, but it can't be, well, someone should have contacted me individually and told me that not only here's the substance, but I should really pay attention to this stuff. I mean, it's hard enough keeping up with the substance and trying to use the multiple communication channels we have now. I would just strongly suggest, and I think you in the room probably will do so going forward, people just need to pay attention. I've talked to friends friends that have told me, oh, I don't have time to like look at the town website. It's like, well, how many times do you check your investment portfolio? I check it once a week. Really? Well, your home, your community are part of your investment portfolio. They're part of your life portfolio. You can check your investment portfolio. You can check someone's blog. You can check the town website once in a while and just see, hey, what's going on in town? Oh, what's this thing? So, I really appreciate everyone being here. I think people that have seen some posts I've done on Facebook and whatnot know that I've been encouraging it. It really is, it has to be a two-way street. There's a limit to what we can be expected to do, and I hope people will appreciate that. So, with that in mind, let's move on to the substance and where we'd like to go from here. Boston Properties is in an odd situation right now because, of course, they have a proposal before the, just pulling at the document, not live tweeting to bring my point home. They have a proposal before the ZBA. Some will ask, why is the ZBA here? The reason is that the ZBA is largely a quasi-judiciary body that is independent. We don't have, contrary to what some people think, we don't have the right to go into the ZBA and say, hey, you guys have to do what we say. We can, and we have, given them our feedback, and we will continue to do so. But that's why they're not at this table. But what's happened, I think, in part, is that a prime example of potentially conflicting messages has been, for instance, the Board of Selectmen have said informally, without a formal vote, we don't see the Church Street rail trail access succeeding. We don't see it being passed by the town. At town meeting, we think that it's problematic relative to our own judgment. I think I'll let them speak for themselves, but the planning board would feel likewise. And yet, meanwhile, people go to a ZBA meeting and they hear the Church Street rail trail as part of the presentation. And I think there are legitimate reasons why Boston Properties perhaps has felt like that's what they've needed to talk about, because the other access points, for instance, Jones Road, they don't have the requisite control and ability to just implement that. They don't have the requisite control, and by the way, if I'm saying anything incorrect, feel free to contact me, or correct me after I shut up. They don't have the requisite control under the terms of their master lease with their tenant to just direct it all out on the 20, even independent of problems that might create. They can't very well go to the ZBA and say, well, we want to talk to you about this project, but we have no access road. It's essentially an isolated island. So they've stuck with the Church Street, but I think they know that we're actively trying to find other routes. So among other things that I'm hoping we can achieve tonight is making it clear, making sure, first of all, that our two boards are on the same page about that just as a practical matter, Church Street rail trail access just flat out doesn't work, and then but we're optimistic that Jones Road is a possibility, and then working out with you at Boston Properties, what does that mean for you guys going forward? Does it mean we just need to put things on hold? Does it mean we can still move forward, even right now, talking with the ZBA, or you talking with the ZBA about other aspects of putting the access piece on hold? There are questions, aside from access, of density, both on the residential side and the commercial side. I think we need to get feedback from the planning board, and more importantly, I don't think that's something that we're going to iron out quite so easily here in one night. But I can imagine the frustration you guys have. Well, do you talk to us about that? Do you talk to the planning board about that? Do you talk to the ZBA about that? Do you stand in the middle of the town and talk to whoever walks by about it? So I think that procedural thing is also something that we will hopefully be able to work out. I have some thoughts on it. I think the other selectmen do too, but I'd rather hold off on those until we have a little more conversation. One thing that I'm hoping you all will be able to do, you had your first ZBA hearing last Monday. It was well attended. I hear that some people may have had some opinions. So it would be good to get your take on, what's changed, or any new views that you have, or new plans or ideas or whatever, so that you're not still getting lambasted over stuff that in your minds is no longer current. And then also, we would of course be helpful to hear from the planning board with any immediate thoughts. And so since this is a joint meeting, before I had you guys describe your take on the ZBA, do you all have any, or the other selectmen have any comments for right now?
I'm not sure if this does work. Oh, good. Speaking for the planning board, as the chairman, I can say that the planning board completely concurs that we believe the Church Street access is just not feasible. We also share the concerns that the selectmen have over the density of the project. We've said that from the beginning. We still believe that. We'd like to see a reduction in both the housing and the office component, if we can negotiate that with Boston Properties. The planning board is really the interface on the office building piece, so that we need to get to work in more detail on what the impacts of both parts of the project are, but in particular, how the office building works into the overall puzzle. I think I speak for the planning board when I say that what we would hope for, although we recognize that the zoning board of appeals has a judiciary role in the process, what we would hope for is, because this is such a unique project, because it has more than one component, that we could establish some sort of a collegial intercommunication that lets us all arrive at the same place at the same time. Right now, my personal sense is that we've sort of been working on the individual pieces without looking at the project holistically from the town's perspective. So I don't know exactly what form that collegial effort would take, but I think it would be very helpful for us to somehow establish that kind of relationship as town boards. Other than that, I think the only other thing I'd like to mention is that the planning board's traffic consultant is here to answer questions if they arise on the traffic conditions. The planning board did have a public meeting to discuss our traffic consultant's evaluation of Boston Properties traffic report last Friday at 8 o'clock in the morning. But again, if there are questions about the traffic report or the evaluation, he's available for comment. And I think that's as far as we can take it for now.
The only other, before I turn it over to you, so I think you're hearing, even without formal votes, I think you're hearing pretty clearly and publicly that Church Street just doesn't work. I mean, it's even independently of what the traffic study says, our own perception is that it just creates too many problems. Aside from the traffic, you've got this big rail trail, which then becomes a sidewalk, and I don't think there's any chance that a project like Church Street rails and trail access passes town meeting. It's just, I think it's a flat reality we have to deal with. So, and if any comments you have not only on your takeaways from the ZBA, but with that in mind. And then, the other thing I want to emphasize, I talked before about how there are all these moving parts that you don't usually have, and I didn't even get them all. It's not just that you all own this property as well as other property in the area. You've got a master tenant, which is Biogen. You've got a sublease tenant from Biogen, monster.com. You've got the town of Waltham that's heavily involved with this, particularly if we want to make the access point through the road. And they, of course, are reasonably asking, well, what's in it for us? We can't just say, hey guys, we need to borrow your road and put a bunch of traffic on it. Here in Weston, aside from the ZBA, Board of Selectmen, and Planning Boards, we've got impacts that affect a number of other boards and committees would ideally in the end be heard from, like schools. And again, this is all, all the residents collectively. This is our town. We also, in addition, I keep forgetting to mention the MBTA. They're a party here because they control some of the land involved. And in addition, they at least have some long-term plan, that would be funded, but they have some interest in, what might we be able to do transit-wise in this area. So they have to be dealt with too. So I just really don't want people to overstate how simple this is. And with that, I'll turn it over to you. And if you can introduce yourself in a minute.
Sure. Thank you very much, Selectmen, Planning Board members, and you all for being here and allowing us to be here. And thank you very much for trying to bring supporters. I think you're exactly right. It is a very complicated process. My name is Mike Cantalupa. I'm with Boston Properties. Keira Evans is with Boston Properties as well. And what we want to do this evening is really tell you what we heard at the ZBA hearing last night. I think maybe just to kind of give a little bit of context, and this is why we feel really good that you're trying to bring order to the process. There has been a lot of information that's come in from a lot of different directions. When we signed an agreement with the selectmen, we felt like we were going down a particular path, notwithstanding how strong we were about the access road on Church Street. The essence of that agreement was that we would have to go and prove ourselves technically at the various boards, whether they be the Planning Board, the ZBA, or the Conservation Commission, as the case may be. And so we kind of set our ship in that direction, and it's not that easy to change direction at times. And so we did make a presentation last Monday evening, that showed the Church Street access. But it was really with that thought process in mind that we were allowed to go forward and at least present our technical results. So we've heard a lot along the way. Keira's going to describe in a little bit more detail what we heard there, but it is a shift for us. So we're now responding to real-time information from you this evening and from the members of the community last Monday, and we'll do the best we can. We don't necessarily want to call a pause to this process. We're either going to try and get this done collectively in a reasonable period of time. Right now, we're talking about potentially Adjourn November special town meeting, or we're not. And so our intention is to try and go forward and do the work and respond to what we've heard, and correct our course a little bit and see if we can make some adjustments that are palatable to all. So we're shifting course. Please bear with us while we do. We have to rearrange consultants and do different kinds of traffic analyses. And you're right, we do have a party that was not at the table when we started this process, which was the city of Waltham. And so we need to try and bring them into order. And we can talk a little bit about what that means and the potential timing for that. But before we launch into it, our intention this evening was not necessarily to give a full presentation of the project. We're prepared to do that. We've been out there a lot in the town. It was really just to tell you what we heard last Monday and how we're going to adjust our process going forward and take all the input in that we can. With that, we turn to Keira.
Right. Good evening, everyone. So this is a list I tried to put together in sort of big buckets from what I heard last Monday. There were a lot of comments, and I apologize if I missed any, but I thought that these sort of all filtered down to sort of what the major concerns were. Obviously there'll be other ones that come up as we go through the board processes and board reviews. These are some of the initial different turns that we have to make as Michael was laying out. The first we've touched on already was the issues with Church Street. The change in tack we're going to make there, as we've talked about, is looking at the Jones Road option. From a technical standpoint, what that means to us, it means we have to evaluate and design a bridge that would span over the Fitchburg line to reach the MBTA right-of-way on the other side of the Fitchburg line, and then connect them to Jones Road in Waltham. And then from a permitting standpoint, that is a comprehensive permit that will be done through Waltham. So actually a similar process to what's done here on the comprehensive permit side, except that they are obviously approving the road, not just the units. But that's how that project would pan out. And as far as for us, that means taking a couple weeks or a few weeks to put together the permit, redraw the civil plans, and going forward with Waltham. The second note we took away was the concern over the conservation land, particularly landscape, the duck pond, and there's actually a conservation restriction on part of the site as well, and just in general the impacts that this project would have on local wildlife. So I just wanted to point out that we're actually sort of in the middle of reviewing all those items right now, specifically with Concom, who is paying particular attention to all those items. There's a number of setbacks on the site that range anywhere from 25 feet up to 125 in some areas off of the various wetlands and other water sources that are present. So we are working on demonstrating to Concom that we are respecting those areas. And then also, for example, Concom has pointed out some trees they want to protect or other areas. So we're sort of, Concom is working with us to identify where they want mitigation, where they need additional measures of protection, et cetera. So helping us design that further. As part of this, we've also been asked to represent on site some areas where we can do some habitat restoration, replantings. The site as it is today, I don't know if many of you have walked through, but it's a vast part of it is open grass field. So again, on areas where we're not building, there are some opportunities to do some replantings, wildflowers, vegetation, et cetera, and working with Concom to design that. The third point was the visual impacts. What I mean here is visual impacts for neighbors. So we've done some initial studies that were put together by our architect, and some of the feedback we got on last Monday was there was concern over how those impacts change throughout the course of the year, because obviously some of the trees will lose their leaf cover and others will maintain it. So I've actually received some volunteers from the local neighborhood so that I could go out actually on their land and take pictures across the pond and help us put those together, which is, thank you for those of you who volunteered. So that would be something we can do to help the neighbors understand better what the project will look like from the neighborhood properties. And also just to add there, obviously the visual impacts will change with the size of the project. We've talked a little bit on density tonight, so we understand there's a limit above which the town will not accept any further density because the impacts will outweigh the benefits of the project. But at the same time, you understand that there's also a lower limit below which we will not be able to justify the project economically. There's infrastructure costs that we're paying for the bridge, upsizing the wastewater treatment plant, but we're hoping that throughout this process we can find a number that works for everybody, and if we can't, then we try. But as far as sizing the projects, that will impact what will be seen, obviously, from the neighborhood properties. The fourth point was concerns on the school impacts and helping trying to understand what the forecasted number of students might be and what that means on a fiscal impact on the budget and the other areas of the town. So we had an initial study that we put together with an outside consultant that we submitted back in March, and then we met again with the members of the school board and the school finance committee, and also the town's finance committee that were there as well. And we submitted a supplementary memo, I think last week, which has some updated data to try to give the town a truly like a worst case scenario of what happens. And we're fully expecting to review that and go through that with the planning board and the ZBA. There was a number of questions and frustration around the lack of information that we have on the multimodal station. And I can sympathize with you because we also have a lack of information on the multimodal station. So what we wanted to make clear, and the biggest point we heard last week was that no one wanted that project to go forward without it being fully vetted. There didn't just want to be like a free pass if this project is approved that a train station can come in there, which is not the case. So if that project was to be considered by the MBTA in the future, if they were able to budget the money for it and do a study and decide that it was valid, they would have to do their own NEPA review process and outreach with the town, so that wouldn't be done in a vacuum, for lack of a better description. And the last point Chris, you raised was just the desire for more town input. And we hear you on that. We're fully open to meeting with the town more. The tools we've been using so far have been the public board hearings, not only with the planning board, selectmen, and ZBA. We've met with a number of the other town boards as well, some on several occasions. And I've met with a couple of the local interest groups in town too, just to introduce them to the project. We're also using our soliciting public feedback on our Co-Urbanize website, and I'm thankful that a number of you have started using the site, which is great. But as I said, we're available for further meetings, town halls, coffees, etc. And sort of let us know what the best way to do is.
Maybe I could just wrap up really.
Excuse me, it's very hard to hear, so if you could all speak more clearly into the microphone, it would really be helpful.
Sure, we'll do the best we can. Maybe just to wrap up our portion of this, while the agreement that we signed with the selectmen, and again, I think this is a bit of a change of course for us. The most significant issue, which is the access that we will try to conquer. And at no point did we believe that we had any kind of a fait accompli agreement with the town of Weston. We fully understood what we were signing. The selectmen were extraordinarily clear that this is all subject to a town meeting vote. So we'll just repeat what we have said all along, which is if you don't want us here to try and take this project on, we'll go home, which means you vote us down in the fall. But we understood that completely from the beginning. We've absorbed costs to get to this point. We understand that that's our risk. We hope to be able to prove ourselves as we go forward here, that we do have a project that ultimately will be very good for the town, but we fully accept that risk. And so we just want to assure you of all of that as we go forward.
Yeah, and I for anyone asking, well, why did we even pursue this? I sort of forgot at the top to mention the big picture matter of this whole initiative and pursuing whether there's something that can be done here emanates from the housing production plan that was derived a couple of years ago and submitted and approved by the state. And I would say you could think of it as having two objectives. One is to increase really perhaps three objectives, depending on who you ask. One is to increase the stock of affordable housing in town, which for many years has seemed to be a shortfall, and certainly is relative to the guidelines or objectives that state law sets. Other people will say an additional benefit in a case like this with rental units is that there's also a shortage of market rate rental apartments available for people who for one reason or another, be it age, divorce, other life circumstances, are no longer able or desirous to continue living in just a separate single-family home. And then third, on the affordable housing front, we are, because we're below a state threshold, we are subject to the threat of hostile 40B projects where the town has very little control over many of the things that a developer would propose to do. These hostile 40B projects can essentially disregard many of the setback and landscaping and historical and other zoning rules that otherwise apply. And if anyone wants to say, well, that can't be a big deal, you should go ahead and talk to your neighbors at 269 North Ave, your neighbors at 255 Merriam Ave, and beware that it can happen in places that you wouldn't necessarily expect. So I realize that there are some neighbors who are like, this might affect me adversely, but the 40B threat is real and potentially increasing. So we're also trying to resolve that. And a project like this, we're never going to get there by a house here, a house there, or even 6 or 8 here, 6 or 8 there. Something like this could well resolve that threshold issue and the hostile 40B issue basically in one fell swoop. So these were all the reasons behind us even pursuing these discussions with Boston Properties. And I appreciate that they have been very clear throughout that they're not trying to force this on the town. This is something that will hopefully prove to be a win-win for everybody. Recognizing that we have certain needs, also recognizing that they're not a charity, so there needs to be some give and take there. With that, first I guess I'd like to see if anyone else on the planning or Board of Selectmen has any questions, follow-ups, other comments, and then perhaps we can talk about sort of what the point of contact should be for Boston Properties going forward.
All right, I think the planning board would just like to hear comments from the audience. There look to be at least 150 people here, and so we'd like to hear what you have to say. I think we only have about half an hour.
Well, that's right. I'd really like to put the
public input until we need to resolve some of these process issues for Boston properties. And I think that
We can't hear you.
sorry, I think we really need to resolve the process issues. I think that's more crucial than the public input right now, because if they walk away and still don't know who they're talking to, then we haven't gotten where we need to be. I think we'll still have some time for public input, but I think it would be okay if we just,
I think we're open to your suggestion.
okay. I really don't want them or any of us to walk out still not knowing the left hand from the right.
Can Boston properties go over all the details of what they're going to do and how many acres they're going to devastating?
I didn't quite hear that, but again, I don't want to open up a Pandora's box of, well,
Can they go over all the details of what the project is?
so no, they're not going to go over all the details of what the project is tonight, because again, we're trying to get ourselves on the page, and we've seen the presentation a couple of times. It is, I believe, available. It's got to be available online because it's been presented most
There's a lot of
recently.
people in the audience that don't know what's going on, so I think it's helpful.
Okay, let me tackle that at the end when we're getting toward the public input piece, because I can certainly tell people where they can go for more information. But any process-related comments?
Well, I'll take a stab at it, but it seems to me the planning board is the natural point on this to negotiate coming up with something that is in concert with the town, so that then it can be presented to the ZBA. Obviously, the selectmen have a very deep, genuine interest in this, so we want to be in the loop, but I think it's important that Boston Properties be able to negotiate with one board, and I propose that that's the planning board.
Yeah, and I think likewise, and here we're talking primarily, I think about the number of units and the number of additional commercial square feet, and that's really you guys' bailiwick.
Just out of curiosity, how do you see that dovetailing with the zoning board of appeals' mandate? At least with respect to the housing part.
Well, I would say if the town, through negotiation, can't reach that sweet spot of a number with Boston Properties, it's no longer a quote-unquote friendly 40B, in which case my understanding is Boston Properties would not continue to pursue the project. So I would hope that there could be a fairly expedited negotiation, and that planning board, the board of selectmen, and Boston Properties would then present whatever amended proposal there is to the zoning board of appeals, and all be on board with that.
Yeah, that would be my hope as well, that once they know that you're their point of contact for negotiating hopefully some mutually acceptable number of units and commercial space and whatnot, that's what they'd be bringing to the ZBA. And so the ZBA would be, I don't think the ZBA is going to, they don't really even have a mandate to reject that compromise. They would be judging what's before them, and I think that especially if it's a compromise that everyone's on board with, hopefully they would be more inclined to go with it, and it would be indeed a friendly 40B.
Let me just, I assume that all of this is predicated on the Jones Street access. When that we need to know from you, get feedback as soon as possible, because how things are progressing in Waltham.
Yeah, I guess I'll raise it just because it's come up. I mean, my understanding is that going out Boston Post Road is not an option based on your lease with Biogen and in turn Munster, I guess, but mostly Biogen, and that they have a right to essentially say, no, we don't want that. No need to resolve it or frame it here, but if there's any wiggle room there, if you guys have if any incentives can be offered to Biogen or whatever, and if there's some way that could be made to work as an option, I wouldn't rule that out ab initio in the same way.
I'm just saying that before we sit down with them and work very hard on building size and capacity and everything else. If it's all going to be overcome by events when there's no access, I would rather wait and get this a positive.
Do you want to respond to that?
Sure. So as it relates to the Biogen piece, let's just take a step back. There's limited access to the site. We really have, as we've explored with you over time, 4 or 5 ways to get there. Some of them are, it's called technically not feasible because they cross wetlands. The most viable means of access are either through the front door of Biogen, from Church Street, or from the Jones Road access. We continue to look at all 3. We heard you loud and clear last Monday, so what do you prefer? And we have been back to Biogen several times. What we have been able to wrestle from them is school bus access, which I think has some benefit to the town because it doesn't require you to alter school bus paths that currently exist. We heard you loud and clear on Jones Road. I think perhaps the progress that's been made on Jones Road is the best example of what we view as happening here, which is a partnership with the town. So Michael Parody has been, we would probably have been dead on arrival to have a conversation with the city on that, but Michael was successful in opening the door for that possibility. I think that where we are right now is with the blessing of certain key political figures in Waltham, that we have been cleared to file a permit that Keir referred to, which is the 40B, that basically just provides the access road. And so it's our intention to go ahead and do that. So, I mean, this is going to be a little bit of an iterative process. We've got to go ahead, we're going to go and file, we'll see what the issues are, and we'll deal with them then. So I think the answer to your question is, we're pursuing this as if, our means of access is going to be Jones Road.
So there's enough reason for optimism if I'm hearing you right, that it's not going to just be a clear waste of your time to engage in these discussions about density and whatnot. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think that is fair. And the other thing I wanted to throw on top of that is just as far as the timing goes, and assuming that we're able to set up the permit in a few weeks, in theory, Waltham would take up to 6 months to review the permit based on the 40B laws. I doubt they will actually take them that long to come to an answer whether it's yes or no. So I think what we would request is if that just we're allowed to go forward with the other reviews with the town, stormwater, et cetera, and provide you updates on the entrance option as we get them. I just foresee that if we wait to get an answer from Waltham, we may not be able to get to the November town meeting in time. Obviously, if we get a no from Waltham, then we have to seriously evaluate what we want to do.
I myself have no trouble with pursuing all the other things that have to be done, Concom, other boards, stormwater, etc. I would just ask you to just make it clear that you're setting aside the access path. Please don't keep bringing up Church Street and Rail Trail because it's really confusing people and I think causing some resistance to the project that could be ultimately self-defeating, and I don't think at this point it's necessary. So if you can just essentially be talking to people either as if Jones Road is going to happen, it just hasn't yet, or as something just totally tabling and dealing with everything but the access right now.
You have our commitment to pursue Jones Road. We've studied Church Street enough. We've studied it, you've studied it. We'll set it aside. If we're not successful with Waltham, then that is potentially our only option, and at that point in time, it's up to the town to decide. It's not us.
Yeah.
One more thing, you don't get the access to the Jones.
Yeah, I just, again, I'm sorry to cut you off, but we will have some time for some public questions. I don't want to open a Pandora's box.
I've got one more comment, and then I'll let other members of the planning board talk, because we seem to be getting saddled with the responsibility for this. I'd like to ask the town council, the zoning board of appeals has a certain timetable that's stipulated in the 40B regulations to come to a decision with respect to the comprehensive permit. I just want to know what that is, and then I'd like some input as to how this timetable that's been given to the planning board would match with what our responsibilities are. How much time do we have? When do the lights go out with the zoning board of appeals?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, Diana Chaplin, Long Town Council. As to the first question, when a 40B application is received, the ZBA has 180 days from the date of the opening of the public hearing, which I understand was a week ago this past Monday. However, that deadline can be extended by mutual agreement of the parties, and that's always possible. If there's a written agreement, the parties agree and file it with the town clerk's office, it can be extended in that way. With respect to the planning board's process, obviously, the planning board gives whatever comments it has as it goes along to the ZBA. The ZBA can consider them, but I suspect what you're really talking about is a partnership that involves the entire town, as Mr. Chairman, you indicated at the outset. So many different pressure points here in town meeting, board of selectmen, the planning board, with regard to the commercial space, that essentially there needs to be a cooperative effort here. And in the event that the planning board has successful discussions with the developer in concert with, of course, the public as well, then that's carried back not so much by the planning board to the ZBA, but by the applicant, by the developer.
Thank you. All right, other comments from the planning board?
I love this process. So, Alana, sure. Alana, follow-up question on the ZBA. So, is what we're proposing, Chris, having the ZBA hearings on this matter put on pause?
I don't know when the next one is scheduled. Do you? The 13th of June. So we've got a few weeks. What I heard you saying before is that if there's a week.
I think I'm going somewhere.
This is not alcohol, by the way. Gosh, where was I? So my sense is that you can keep moving forward with the zone ZBA presentations. They would just be either limited to exclude stuff that is.
I'm actually sensitive to the audience. What meetings do they go to? I think they're going to be asked to go to a lot of meetings to keep up with issues. So it'd be nice if I would suggest we consider putting the zoning board meetings on pause and then focus the attention on the planning board meetings, and then it goes back, assuming it's successfully there. And I think that the applicants would approve of that as well, and I think that the counseling and the HCD would follow that process. You tell me.
Again, through you, Mr. Chairman, the timing of that, as I say, would be between the ZBA and the applicant, in the event that the applicant agreed to that and went to the ZBA and said, look, we want to put this on pause. I have seen that happen in the past, and it can be done one of two ways. One is to continue to a date, time, and place certain. Everyone knows what that is, and you go away and come back, at that time. Or you say, well, we're going to suspend. We're not going to set a new public hearing date. We will advertise anew, and once we reach a point where it's worthwhile to begin the process again.
So what I worry about, and for the applicants as well, is that we get off on two different tracks. The planning board begins to negotiate X, the zoning board negotiates Y, and how do we get it back together? We're having a meeting after meeting after meeting. It would be nice for us to start, stop, and hand it over to the
And again, through you, Mr. Chairman, I would say that the common component there is the developer, is Boston Properties, with respect to what it is where the delta is between what the planning board is looking at, what the ZBA is looking at, what the public is looking at, what the board of selectmen is looking at, what town meeting is going to want. The common denominator there is Boston Properties and what they're willing to agree to. And so if they wish to go forward with the ZBA, then that is the process, because in the event that they do not agree and to stop, then the process has to move forward. So it really will be up to the developer.
So the ball is in your court. What do you say to that, Mr. Developer?
Thank you for being so respectful. I appreciate that. Our objective when we started this was, it goes reviews in time for the town meeting. So we'd like to be done with that process. We are open as to how we get there, and so if there's a more palatable way for you all to do that, then we're open to it. And our general understanding, subject to our talking to our own council, is that there would have been a meeting, introductory meeting with ZBA, perhaps one or two meetings with ZBA, but we felt like we were always heading to the planning board for a more detailed review of impacts to the project. And so we're open to working out that path with you completely.
Thank you.
Does that address?
Yeah.
Well, I guess we're still, to your point though, it's going through a formal zoning board process, and yet the planning board is the one driving the bus in terms of negotiation. So how that dovetails is still a bit of a question.
So use an example. The first hearing we had last Monday had to be moved from a previous date that didn't work. And we very quickly executed an agreement that said, yes, we can extend the opening hearing for a week or whatever it was. So if for the planning board it makes it easier for us to complete your review before we go to the ZBA, if we come up against any of the time pressure, I've already worked closely with the ZBA administrator to sort of seamlessly push dates around as need be. So I think as long as that either the planning board and the selectmen or both work just to communicate with the ZBA what was talked about in the last meeting, this is the next update, we're talking about this, that, the other, and then whatever the final agreement is, I think we would feel comfortable going into the ZBA hearings once the planning board review is done, hoping that they were sort of fully informed that the background was coming to that date. And obviously, if they have a few more questions they want us to answer, we can do that.
Here, perhaps one of the first agenda items when you meet with the planning board, this is not out of schedule. Yeah.
Sure, that's fine.
The last question I had is regarding Waltham. So your work with Waltham right now is directly between you and Waltham, is that right? Is Weston involved in those discussions at all right now?
But, yeah, it would be direct, the permit process would be directly with them.
Okay, so my sense is there could be some negotiations, some discussions between the town and Waltham as well, between Weston and Waltham. Or is it strictly going to be stuff between you and Waltham?
Like I said, I think that opening the door was a result of our partnership.
You
We would
can
welcome.
take it from there.
Well, we can. I guess what I'm going to say is we would welcome your participation because I think we've gotten as far as we have in significant part by you. So I think there's a formal part of the process that is us as an applicant and the city of Waltham as an approving entity. And but then there's give and take on the project of this size. And so we would welcome your involvement if that was important to you, and if we can talk about it as we go into each and every conversation.
Okay, thank you.
I based on our prior conversations, I think I feel comfortable saying, tell me if I'm wrong, that if you get to some point in your discussions with Waltham where our participation is necessary or will be helpful, or there's something we can do within reason to make it happen, the Jones Road access, I don't think you should hesitate to let us know that. And I'll let you guys speak for yourselves, or you guys tell me I'm wrong.
That seems reasonable. I mean, just let us know how we can participate in the conversation, and we'll do our best.
So am I hearing the prior so am I hearing correctly that next step for you guys is going to be meet with the planning board, agenda item 1, come up with a schedule for further meetings, but basically until that results in some agreement as to units and density and whatnot, you're basically going to hold off on going to the ZBA with the hope that when you do go to the ZBA with that kumbaya in hand, it's going to be much quicker before the ZBA because everyone's going to be singing around the campfire. And yeah, the ZBA has to make their own decision, but certainly it will be informative to them that, there's a friendly 40B and we're all, happy with the compromise that's been developed. Is that
we're happy following that process. I said that a little bit open-ended, not knowing exactly what the ZBA's feedback is, but assuming that they agree with all of this, then we're happy with dealing directly with the planning board and trying to come up with a technical solution.
And I assume those next meetings, I mean, it's not like, okay, great, August 15th. I mean, we should be able to start those, you guys should be able to start using community safety inside. I mean, those can be relatively soon to start, yeah, I mean, they'll have to. Okay. Do you feel like you guys have enough understanding now what of the process going forward and the points of contact and all? I mean, are we on this? Well, let me emphasize one thing. I mean, the Board of Selectmen is happy to say that the planning board should be the primary point of contact. I hope that you guys, the planning board, will keep us in the loop, because, I mean, it is possible, at least in theory, you could come up with something that we'd be like, no, that just doesn't work. Or we'd like to weigh in a little bit if you thought about this. So, I mean, we've certainly been having increased communication over the past year, and I would assume that will A, continue, and B, feature this as a primary topic for some back and forth offline.
Yeah.
So you guys feel like you're...
I think we have an understanding of the process that we would like to follow. I think the only question I have is the one that you just raised, which is what's the rhythm of those meetings? And we're prepared. We've done the work, the technical work. We've got a little bit more work to do in Jones Road. It's better getting through this expedition.
Okay. So my inclination, I think the two remaining possible things we could do with the next 10 to 15 minutes are talk about the traffic study, but in a way I feel like that's something we might be able to cover in your subsequent meeting, because the other alternative is to indeed get some public questions and input. Okay. So, everyone look at your raffle ticket. You figure out who gets to ask first. Yes.
I'm Jack Sands, 32 Concord Road. I'm the chairman. I'm the Jack Sands. I'm the chair of your Rail Trail Advisory Committee, and I just have two quick comments to echo two comments that Chris made earlier. One to the community here, and the second to the Boston Properties. First, as to, I know a lot of people are here because of the issue of Jones Road and the issue of possibly the access coming in off of Church Street. I would just like to assure you that besides our committee's opposition to that, Eversource Power Line, which has the easement, is opposed to that. But more importantly, in January of this year, the Massachusetts Department of Conservation and Recreation, DCR, which has a 90-year lease on that line from MBTA, is filed with Eversource as a co-applicant to come in and be involved with putting down the rail trail. They have informed us, and they told me that they have informed the planning board as well, that they were opposed and they would fight any attempt to put a road through there. So I hope that ensures people right now to calm down about the issue of any access coming off of Church Street. It's not going to happen. The Boston Properties. I have sat in on almost every meeting they have had in town, and I will tell you they have been fully transparent on their proposal. They have met with us. They have heard our concerns. They have gotten back to us, and I think that they have bent over backwards to try to make this work. We do know that the Jones Road is the access point. I will also tell you that 2 weeks ago, the town of Waltham has now put out their RFP for construction on the potential connecting the rail trail that would go from Waltham all the way to Berlin. The town is very excited about that, Waltham is, and I think that there will be some energy there to get involved in helping to make sure that the rail trail goes through there, and potentially Jones Road may be an access that can be used. So we will support you 100% on this.
Yes, sir, in the back, with your hand up. If you wouldn't mind coming up to the mic, it'll just really help.
So I'm Bob Wamsley. I live at 40 Hobbsbrook Road, which is about a quarter of a mile, I think, from this development. So I've lived in town since 1989, and I guess I'm a little confused. So it seems to me that what I heard was you're going to have an access through Jones Road, but the only way out is for a school bus onto Route 20. Is that correct?
Only the school buses could potentially, what was stated was the school buses could potentially have access through the office park. They may still end up, depending on what the most efficient route is, they could still end up going out Jones Road.
Correct. So a couple of things. First of all,
Can I just say, our intention is the school buses would access off of Route 20, they would circulate through the site, and they would leave through Route 20. And I think that's the closest way to get to what their existing route is. The residential access, our intention would be to access or enter off of Jones Road. People come in at night, they leave in the morning, and leave Jones Road.
okay. So I guess 2 points. The first one is the fact that this project is no longer going to Church Street, I still don't think makes the rest of us out here believe this is a decent project for many reasons that aren't even up there. The second point is, if the only access is through Jones Road, what we're effectively saying is we're going to have hundreds of people who are much closer to being Waltham residents than Weston residents going into our school system. The quality of the buildings that you have, if the only access is through Waltham, what we're basically saying is we're going to have part of the town of Waltham sitting in Weston going into our school systems. If I wanted to live in Waltham, I'll move to Waltham. Thank you.
Thank you.
The woman next to the guy that just spoke, I guess I'll put on my town meeting moderator hat and ask particularly just if it'd be best if you raise your hand, especially if you have something new. And I'm not saying that wasn't, I'm just saying for the future.
Marianne Yeager, 316 Highland Street. I have a question. There are two big 40B projects. There's this one, which is 350 apartments. What's that?
Only 87 are low income.
I know, but altogether.
Yes.
Altogether, there's 350. Across the street, there already before the zoning board is the second 40B project, which is 150 apartments. Do we need both projects? I mean, that's 500 apartments right at the edge of Weston.
So I guess this is precisely part and parcel of the discussions that Boston Properties and Planning Board would be having about density, even aside from the 104 proposal. You know, I think we both expressed reservations about the idea of 350, so people shouldn't take that as set in stone. This is exactly the kind of thing that the Planning Board will be discussing, and of course one variable in there would presumably be what's happening with the 104 project across the street.
Thank you very much. Tim Gavin, 21 Crescent Street. For those who were at the meeting last week, we went through ad nauseum, a million points. They're all up there, and as was mentioned before, there's others that are even missing from historic and so on. What I think has been neglected so far, everyone's focusing on the rail trail entrance, they've been focusing on the Jones Road entrance. We're neglecting the fact that this is also way more than just a 40B issue, right? The town has gone and looked at this and said, hey, Boston Properties, can you come and solve our 40B issue? Sure. I want to go and build a 250,000 square foot commercial space and a 1,500 car garage or parking lot as well. So we're still talking about the 40B entrance. We're completely ignoring the fact that they want to go and build a ginormous, as my children would say, complex in there, right? You know, my wife cleverly pointed out that the website to go to up there is co-urbanize. We're urbanizing this town, right? I walk up the stairs and you see nothing but historic pictures of our town, right? They're old houses. We have zoning laws to try and keep them as such. right? I have to paint my gutters on a 250-year-old barn to go and fit historic reasons, right? We want to go and throw this ginormous complex into our town, all right? The traffic, we're talking about Jones Road, we're talking about Church Street, we're not talking about Route 20. Now, we live on Crescent Street, which the only way to get off of Crescent Street, if you know it, or Hillcrest, is to go onto Route 20. And I invite any of you to come in the morning when we try and get our kids to school and take a left onto Route 20. All right? You want to go and add at least 1,500 more cars potentially based on the size of the parking lot. You want to add that onto Route 20 in the morning, right? We can't take a left on Route 20 if you leave from certain times of the day. You know what my wife has to do when she drives up? She is unwilling to go and take the risk with the kids in the car. And by the way, we have 8 kids. We take a right onto Route 20. We go and do a loop around at the little island there, and then we have to try and take a right back onto Route 20. So you want to go and add this much more traffic? I even took a little Google Maps picture of the traffic yesterday at rush hour to show you what it would look like, and I'll get it blown up when we go to the town meeting, because I think that would be great to show that. Now, again, we listed all these other points earlier, and again, I just don't think the time and the place to talk about them, and you know, the chair said that we should ignore, or not ignore, we should move on from those other points. Except for one, which I think should be discussed more, which is the quote-unquote betrayal by the town selectmen earlier in rolling back a restriction that was placed on that property. I've only been in the town. Oh, okay.
Can you raise your hand if you've actually read the restriction? Literally.
I've read it.
Yeah, with conditions. Don't give me the with conditions, I'm sorry. With due respect. The with conditions. I'm sorry, I said I'm sorry. I apologize for that. Getting heated. The with conditions, I'm sorry, but anyone here, those who were in the room who fought that before, can you please stand up and tell us if your expectation was that anything would ever be built? To me, nothing. So having any conditions on there just doesn't make sense to me.
We've given our inch for Weston, okay? We've not bought some property. 350,000 square foot commercial building. Thank you very much. End of story.
And I do apologize to the chair for my
The end of story, at some level, with regard to the amendment restriction, is town meeting. I mean, because the restriction itself specifically says this can be amended. So no one bought with any guarantee that the existing restriction would never be amended. Stop. Let me finish my sentence.
Why did you seek to amend it?
Actually, that's a good question. Why did we seek to amend it? The reason was, and the reason why, but again, we put it with, look, I will marry any of you with conditions. My wife has to go away. We might have to be attracted to each other. Look, the reason that we left it open to give flexibility, the reason we had to do something was because without it, Boston Properties would not have the requisite control over the site. Michael, you can correct me if I'm saying this wrong, to even begin the friendly 40B process. So something had to be there that would say, you know, they have at least a sufficient degree of control over the site in order to even move forward with this. So, that's why we did that. And again, I think people are inferring that it means more than it does in terms of binding us to anything. And a lot of what you brought up, for instance, the point about commercial space, is exactly what the planning board is going to be discussing. What, if anything, is the appropriate density there?
Why are we at 350, for God's sake? Why are we at 350? Is 350 a number that makes them happy? I mean...
Well, it's what they proposed, so I assume so, but...
40B, you're talking about developing a commercial space.
That's why all of this is exactly what the planning board is going to tackle with these guys. That's exactly...
Look at the building. Who approved that? the look of the building. I think it's ugly.
Nothing has been approved. I
So
mean,
why are we looking at these buildings like this? They're modern.
you can't, someone has to break a proposal to look at anything.
Okay, so
These don't just magically
They're
appear.
not good.
What has
So-
happened to the Affordable Housing Committee's proposal to the state to accept Brooks School, which should have been done in the first place? Certainly, there are plenty of units there that are affordable housing.
Those are already included. They will not get us.
It's not included as of a couple of months ago.
They're not all included, but there's some technicalities involved. They don't solve our whole problem.
What has happened to that?
Yeah, that appeal is underway. They're working on whether those units, and I don't know what the number is, but it doesn't get us anywhere near 10%. So the housing production plan looked at multiple ways for Weston to achieve the 10% housing diversity, and a significant development on this parcel was identified. Expansion of Brooks School was identified. The folks in that neighborhood don't seem to be enthusiastic about much of an expansion there. So unless you're ready to accept the hostile 40Bs, anytime two abutting properties go on the market with virtually no control, you're not going to get to 10%.
But that property, when it does finally go through and is accepted that many more, that means that they could reduce the number of the units in this big monstrosity.
Well, the number of units is certainly under negotiation. We don't want it any larger than it has to be. Obviously, there are some economies of scale for development, and we've got to find that sweet spot.
Which is exactly why we're putting Boston Properties in touch with the planning board. I'll take a couple more comments, and then the last thing I want to do is just follow up on the question about where can people learn more about this, because I don't want anyone thinking that it's not readily available. So a couple more questions, go ahead. Are you with him? Frankly, I'd like to hear diversity of opinion. Is it quick?
I'm sorry. Hi, my name is Cara Gavin. I grew up in the town of Weston. I moved back 7 years ago with my family. And my husband said a lot of the things that I might have said. One of the things that struck me during this process of trying to figure out more about this project was that I ended up talking to a lot of really intelligent, smart people here in town. And I've met very dynamic people, wonderful people, and we've had these very open discussions about what the 40B problem means to Weston, and what the obligation is by the people of Weston to provide affordable housing in the first place. And I firmly believe that we need to address the 40B housing problem as a community, but in a more thoughtful way. I think this proposal was a proposal to kind of do a quick fix of a problem in one fell swoop. And had this proposal been one that distributed 40B across the town and as a shared community responsibility in a less invasive way, had it sought to address the needs of our seniors, which I hear are great in this town, I'm not sure I'd be up here right now or not be home with my kids. I have 2 babysitters at my house right now, by the way. But many of the problems related to this project are really problems of scale and capacity that are all being put on one section of town. I appreciate the enormous responsibility that you have as the Board of Selectmen, and you must have had a lot of pressure to have considered even creating this amendment to a building restriction and pursuing this development. But given that we have a new selectman and a new board, it's a new day, I do think we have to press pause. I actually think we do have to press pause on this process and deeply consider if this proposal that is being presented to us is really the best way forward for our town. Once all of these buildings go out, once this little city area is created, we can't really go back. We can't turn back the clock. Can't take down those buildings once they're up. So I think as a community, we should say no no to this building amendment. And the eternal optimist in me thinks that as a community, we can do better than this. And we can kind of preserve the character of this town in a better way that serves the needs of our seniors and our community.
Okay, can I?
I'll just say a couple of things. First of all, since I see, I think maybe up to a half a dozen people that were on the housing production plan steering committee that spent a year perhaps on this thing, and I think are intelligent. I think they're a little bit, could take some umbrage at the notion that they just sort of slapdash something together, and if you read that housing production plan, you might be a little more attuned to the difficulties of achieving that safe harbor level in the sort of way you describe. And if anyone wants to say, you or anyone else in the audience, no, this is easy. If we just scatter it around town, we get to the threshold. I look forward to you please print out a map of the town and plot exactly where all these units are going to go. I would genuinely just, even ignoring things like financing and cost, I would just love to see anyone do it, because I know the Housing Production Plan Steering Committee tried. They tried all sorts of things, and it's tough. It's easy to say, just spread it around town equitably. It's a lot harder to do in practice. So again, if anyone wants to put forth their own map and show us how we're going to do it, would love to see it. And then, the thing you're saying about we should vote no on this, that's exactly what, if there's a town meeting vote, which I hope we get to a point where there's at least a proposal that can be voted on, that's exactly what the question will be, and you all are free to vote yes or no, as is the rest of the town population, and it'll happen or it won't, and you all are aware that if it doesn't, then that's that, and we'll deal with what comes from that. We are getting late, and I know there will be many future opportunities for public input, including at these planning board discussions. I would encourage people, I really do, sorry to use the word umbrage twice, take serious umbrage at people yelling at us and saying we betrayed the town and stuff. Because I know that the planning board, the ZBA, the board of selectmen, Concom, all these people that are involved in this, no one's doing this out of some spirit of spite or evil, or because they just want to screw around and be lazy. So just, if you could just keep that in mind in the context, and we can have a civil discussion instead of yelling at each other. We don't need that, and we can do better than that. So the last thing I want to cover, and then we really need to get to the rest of our meeting because we're going to be here till 11 o'clock as it is. The town website, weston.org, appropriately enough, I think there's a whole page on 40B matters. I think that will include links to information about the Boston Properties Project. I think it will include links to the Housing Production Plan Steering Committee website, including the Housing Production Plan that was submitted and approved. It will include a whole lot of other information. And Weston Media Center also has links to, for instance, they've already got the ZBA meeting online from last week where this was presented. If you watch it, I encourage you to consider that it is, that the new status quo has been informed by that. So, are there questions? I don't want to hear.
How do we contact the planning board? It sounds like there's not enough time for us to share our thoughts with the planning board tonight.
I would say that the two ways are one, email.
Is there a group?
Email to the town planner, which is available online. And then also, they will be having public meetings. So, and the town website features a way that you can sign up and get agendas delivered to you so you can see when those town meetings will happen. Again, any questions? Pure questions. As I've said, this meeting was primarily intended to get us on the same page about process. Yeah, it's a public meeting, and your town council can confirm for you. Town meeting does, when a board has a public meeting, that doesn't mean that they have to have unlimited public comment. In fact, we're not actually required to have any public comment. We obviously want to hear that there will be many create opportunities for that continued public comment, but we have a whole meeting's worth of stuff still yet to do. So again, if there are questions about what to do next or who to contact, we can entertain those, but we can't have this be everyone giving their opinion to be the last one in. Any true questions? Sir, you can just ask it from there since it's a question.
I'm Chandler Fulton at 21 Hillcrest Road. And I want to say one sentence, and then I will sit down. I do have a prepared talk. And my thing is that I take umbrage with anyone who sits and says your matters of principle are not important to us.
Any other questions? That wasn't a question.
I make a statement in your support.
Only if you want to get moved. I don't want to understand.
I just want to say, these people are not your enemy. They have been working their backsides off, and they are hardworking volunteers who have given a huge amount to the town. I've been to 7 or 8 of these 40B meetings. They've been well-researched, well thought through. I'm not saying we found the perfect solution yet, but I'm just saying, don't criticize these folks because they've been working on all of our behalf.
I appreciate that, and I don't even mind if you criticize us. I just, the sort of tone and imputed motives are the problem. John, I'm going to end with you because you're like the town elder spokesman, and then we've really got to get down to the rest of our meeting.
We can elect our planning board. We can't elect our development. We're lucky to have most of the property here. And we're lucky to have the planning board. Chris says this is a confusing process and the selectmen should stay out of it. Good.
We've got to go down. You have another agenda item, so you're still sticking around, right? You're going to Facebook.
One more question. Just come up with that. I have a question for Boston Property. All right. Come over there. Have a lot of
The question was best case scenario for the answer yes or no on the wall dam. Figure I think it's about 3 weeks to put the application together, and then again we'd be thrilled to have something in 3 months or less from wall dam. I think is a reasonable request, but again we hope.
But then again, I thought, but that will be us soon, that same crowd
That's right.
in our meetings.
That's correct. Yeah, something to look forward to.
It is, I really like it.
Yeah.
But
I hate that room.
I
That
do
has the
too.
worst acoustics
Yeah.
in the Western Hemisphere. All right, so we have a quorum. We're going to start reading this decision. Oh, yeah.
Is there an agenda anywhere? Very
The
hard to
agenda
follow.
is we're reviewing this decision.
Yeah,
Okay.
the agenda was in there.
The
It
agenda.
was in the other room. Oh,
It's been a hard one to follow tonight.
okay. This is the only thing, it's,
Here, Diana.
yeah, 5 and 9.
Thank you.
5, 9, and 15 Atlas Lane amendment.
Shouldn't this say certificate of action special permit?
Yeah, I can, up at the top, I've highlighted in this, but yeah.
Yeah, no, but.
Yeah, special permit.
Or special permit amendment or so,
Yeah.
just so that whoever looks at this knows what it is.
Sorry.
Let's say that. No.
I know it is, but it's not in the text, it's
No,
lost in the text.
just make sure that well, yeah, I think these are the durations.
Yeah, this
One of
is
them had
that
September.
Atlas
One of them
Lane.
had September 20th, then I took that out. Okay, so I don't have that, I still have the one Steve,
Okay,
way
but
back when, so. It said
I
September
don't know if you-
Yeah, 15, yeah, so I would like.
It doesn't matter, we get it.
Okay, yeah, so let's use yours.
And we're signing documents?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it something that we all sign?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Including Steve? Is he not here?
Well, Steve left. 4 of 5.
Yeah.
And we're all five, we got a quorum, so we don't really need 5, we don't need 5. Sort of kind of trying to explain it. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, no,
Yeah. Finger.
Of course, I need to bring a pen.
We'll share it. So the only thing, it's kind of weird, like on page 3, and it just, I'm sure there's good thought in this, but on the evaluation where it says project was permitted with a common driveway, which has been renamed to a private way, conditions being proposed, then it says under findings. So, okay, I guess none of those things, because it isn't ever going to be a street. Conditions are being proposed to keep the common driveway from functioning as a street.
Yeah.
So the common driveway was renamed.
Was renamed, but it has.
Renamed to a private way.
To a private way, yeah.
Okay, so that's why all of the standards and conditions for the
Yeah, the
streets are
street don't
not
apply. That's-
applicable.
Yeah, those are the ones we're actually trying to keep off of this.
Okay.
Well, she's brought attention to that. Are they being proposed or are they being established?
The conditions?
Yeah.
Proposed. So those are the special conditions under F. They're attached.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not proposing them, it's they're established.
Conditions are being
Established. Okay, yeah,
That's what I'm
gotcha.
saying.
I see what you're saying.
Okay. You're not saying maybe.
Yeah, conditions are being. It's on page 3, the
Oh, there.
third thing down in the evaluation.
Thank you.
Seems wrong. Put your finger on it.
In the initial subdivision plans, the common driveway easement was established at 30 feet?
Yes.
That was in the approved documents already?
Yeah, that's in the approved the 2015 approved documents have the initial section at 60 until it hits that first parcel, which is 203, 15 Atlas now, formerly 203 Newton, and then it goes down to 30 feet as it comes to 5 and 9, basically.
Okay.
So actually, it's a 60 and 30 foot easement. It varies.
Well, that's all right. I just wanted to confirm that that's what is already in effect.
Yes.
Why does it have to be 30 feet?
I think that's what it was in the original 2010.
Yeah.
So it's never changed.
So is there a paragraph in here that says all conditions, previous conditions remain in force and effect?
Yes.
There is. Okay. Just wanted to check.
Where is that exactly?
It's towards the end.
I think it's under ongoing conditions. Yeah, standard ongoing conditions, it's the last one.
Yeah. All other conditions of the special permit granted on September 15, 2010 and amended on July 15, 2015 shall remain in full force and effect, except where completed or superseded by this approval.
Good. Page 5 under discussion. I think the first sentence is where it says issue, colon, alias dated, etc. I think it should be, it is now a private way.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Because then you say a street would have different requirements. It is now a street, and what I was saying is that we would like to continue to consider it a two-house shared driveway, even though it's a private way. Somehow, that's what I said at the meeting. So I want to make that clear, that as far as the planning board's concerned, even though it has a name, it's a two-house shared driveway. So I'd like to see that language amended to reflect that.
If we're altering the minutes, I think, John, did you want to correct the statement you made that's reflected here that isn't correct in our minutes here?
Which is that, I'm sorry.
This one here?
There were two lots in there,
But there was
a
one
third.
lot.
Yeah.
Originally, it was just one large
It was
lot.
originally one lot. It was subdivided into three.
Now there are three.
So I just, on page 11, under Appendix F, Special Conditions, that first one, and actually the second one too, it's very difficult to envision that. Do we have that on a diagram?
Yes.
A plot plan? I mean, there's something that's attached to this
Oh, that's good.
because this is so hard to understand what we're talking about.
A picture's worth a thousand words.
It
It is.
So we do have a picture on that.
So we could append that to the decision or something?
Yeah. It is actually the flexible subdivision development site plan from 7650 in the list of documents.
It has the
That has-
actual
that has those
paving
dimensions.
width and all of these
Yes.
stub points at Atlas
Yeah.
Lane and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all.
Yeah, and I can add in there.
Yeah, it was
Diagrammatically,
complicated.
yeah.
Because there's also a field change, I remember.
Right,
in the
so,
location.
yeah.
it's true.
But then trying to read this, if I were
Yeah.
20 years from now, it's like, really?
I can put in, as
20 years.
as shown on the.
Oh, when somebody comes back and wants to do something
No,
else,
that's right.
you
No,
have
that's
no
right.
idea what the heck was in
Yeah.
the brain of the,
Well, someone's going to probably want to come back in 20 years.
Sure.
Do the driveway the other way. Because they have the right to flip it.
oh,
So it
Yeah.
might happen in 20 years.
Yep.
You won't be here, I won't be here, but I better.
praise
not
the
be here.
Lord.
Yeah. See, it's true.
So I can add the language there that references that plan specifically.
Yeah, just
Okay.
because the diagram is so.
Yeah.
Just, can you explain the number 8 special condition? It says, these things will be executed, I think you mean to say, within 60 days of approval.
Yes.
So what is it, what is the condition? It says shall be, or needs to be, or what is, like, trying to declare the future?
Shall.
We will require that it be executed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, isn't that
just don't know what it means.
No, I'm glad you brought it. Isn't it, this agreement will be executed within 60 days
Yeah.
of approval.
Okay.
So what happened, this is a little complicated, I'll try not to. One of the original conditions back in 2015 was there was supposed to be a covenant agreement signed between the applicant with the town, and to be recorded, and there to be a bond, so that when the road, which went like this, was changed to go like this, there was a covenant that bound Eric Brooks to do that and do all the related work to it, with the understanding, as these covenants usually work, that once everything was done, he would go back to you and say, I finished it. If there's any money that's being held, I would like a release. I'd like you to release the covenant, signifying that all the work has been done to your satisfaction. Right. So my concern, and why this is primarily in here, is the covenant serves, from the standpoint of someone looking for title to the property, as an indication that the work has been done to the satisfaction of the planning board. And if there isn't a covenant, there's nothing to sign off. So if I'm looking at the title of the property for someone buying Eric's property or Rashawn Ramlikin's property, I'm going to see all these conditions, but I won't know that they've been satisfied or not. So I want to get a covenant released which says that the conditions have been satisfied. So what we're saying now is, even though it's a little bit like the horses at the barn, is Eric is going to, or the trustee of the trust that Eric, trustee of the trust that owns the property, is going to sign a covenant agreement. That's going to go on record. And when everything's been completed, which includes the planting of the trees and presumably the demolition, and all that's been done, I would anticipate that we would be back with what word saying, like, and then there'll be something on record saying that, yes, the conditions have been satisfied, and I'll be happy, and I think they'll be happy.
And the title would be free and clear from that point on.
From that point on, so that someone buying
Okay,
the
so no
property.
entailments.
So do you have the right words in it then?
So amendment is turning to agreement.
Yes, or it should be, and this agreement and covenant, but it should be clear that it's referring to that.
Capital A and capital C.
Yes.
Paragraph 5.
Paragraph 5, which,
I'd like to change the language to say the following.
are we looking at the special conditions?
No,
still?
special conditions.
Okay.
Structures or amenities associated with typical street cross-sections, including but not limited to the following, shall not be installed. And then you go curb, sidewalks, street lights, striping. I'd also add hydrants, roadway construction, and alignment.
There is one hydrant that they installed.
Additional hydrants.
Additional hydrants, okay.
Maybe it's me on number 8, but I still don't understand the sentence. There's a new agreement and covenant pursuant to all that, approved blah, blah, blah. Is it, do you just want to say, will be executed within 60 days of approval?
Yeah.
I don't know what the end is, means.
New agreement covenant pursuant to.
Yeah, you're right.
Law.
Just will
be executed.
Yeah, you can
Scratch
just get
and
rid of
this
and this
amendment.
amendment.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Because we're saying agreement and covenant
Yeah.
twice.
Yes, no, you're right.
Saying it 4 times.
Yeah.
Let's say it a few more times.
No, this is why it takes 5 people.
Just to be sure that everybody understands.
Yeah.
So we just want
This
to
is also the one we drafted at 4 o'clock,
Yeah.
so.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well.
Recently, hot off
Yeah,
the press.
yeah. We want to get it done by Tuesday. It is scary, Al.
Luckily, these are standardized though, and we can focus our
Right,
attention
yeah,
on.
so on
Right.
these special
Right.
conditions.
Right.
Yeah.
One
Everybody
page.
else is- Yeah. It will be
Craziness.
nervous.
Okay, no.
So let me then ask this question of the board, if I could, and this relates to this.
Go ahead.
Okay. This is on E3. This is one of those 457 emails.
Can you just tell us which page you're looking at?
Yeah, it will. That's page 9. And if you look at number 3, there's 2 parts to 3. There's the first part, which is 3,
2.5 lines, so there's a second part, which is just 2 lines. I wanted to, or I would like to change it so that, where it says, in addition, once the approved plantings are installed, the planning board reserves the right to require additional plantings get rid of at the time of site plan approval, and instead put in, if necessary, to provide screening from the street or for the neighbors. So you have this discretion, but it's not just sort of open-ended, that it's, if you think it's necessary, screening of the street and for the neighbors.
So one more time, the language would be the right to require additional plantings.
If necessary, to provide screening from the street or for neighbors, or for the neighbors.
I think we need to, that's fine, that language is fine, but somehow we have to reference site plan approval, because if as and when it ever comes up for site plan approval, if somebody ever decides to construct a house on that lot, we're gonna wanna go through site plan approval, including the landscaping.
Can we then say future site plan approval?
Yeah.
Potential future site plan approval or something like that?
Somehow it has to be referenced, otherwise we're
That's
signing
fine,
away
I
our
just-
ability to do that.
Yeah, well, I'm not trying to do that.
Right, I appreciate that, but I mean,
What
that's.
I'm trying to make clear is that that Eric doesn't have to refile or file for a formal site plan approval for those 12 trees that he's planting.
No, that's not the
It's-
intent
it's-
of the paragraph.
So it's a future, for any potential future. Because that, I think what it sounds like now is it's referencing back to
Yes,
the
that's
current
what
one.
my concern.
Yeah, so, and this is something to just preserve our rights in the future.
That's right.
If.
Someday, somebody will build a house on
Right.
that lot. We want
Right.
to just reserve our rights to conduct site plan approval, including the landscaping.
Sure, yeah.
So,
You want to
is
put
there?
future in there somewhere?
I would always just say in accordance with site plan approval, and it's on the condition on the 2015 plan, and I'll reference that. Because that's really what that site plan approval is referring to, that when it comes up for that, for the house site plan approval, we want to do it. Then, right?
If there's a proposed house. If there's
There may not be a proposed house there for 20 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
For
not.
future construction.
It's not, site plan approval associated with future construction.
That would be fine.
Okay.
Good answer.
How's that headache? Oh, the ice pick. But you can see.
Yeah, I can see.
It's good. That means you can drive home. So have we hammered this enough? Does the rip
I'm
say
done.
polished and lovely?
Yeah.
Yes.
Questions?
Roy?
Yeah, I spotted one small typo. That's it. Newest page. Page 4.
Page 4.
Under B, minimize amount of land disturbance.
Okay.
Let's see, new grading or site work, yeah,
Planting.
that's all.
Waiting.
For plating, for putting the food on the,
Oh, yeah.
for presenting the,
If we're getting to that lesson. Page 1, the last sentence, the first paragraph. Applicant has also requested to be allowed to demolish the existing house at and install additional landscape at 9 Atlas Lane.
okay.
So back and forth.
Yeah,
Wow.
I saw that.
I'll take your semicolon and raise you.
Parallel.
Raise you a hat.
It's a rhetorical device.
So we move this, we want to move that we want to approve the certificate of action at 183-203 Newton, or in parentheses 5, 9, and 15 Atlas Lane, for an amendment to the special permit. That's what it is, right? The special permit. Okay.
Yes.
As amended
Yes.
multiple times.
Second.
Modified.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now what do we sign?
I'm in a board like that.
We're ready to
You've
sign.
got your, okay, so this, Al needs to sign or something. That's what we just went over.
Oh, yeah, this is, we'll take care of this.
You'll take care of
That's-
that. So this is the, I mean, you can thumb through that, I only have one copy, and all 4 of you need to sign it. And then there's a notary on the second page. And I guess I just have to.
Where's your notary stamp?
Here.
Oh.
I was hiding in case things weren't
Silly
bad.
me.
Right.
Are we signing something on this matter or another matter?
This is, no, it's this matter.
Oh, I thought you were doing us a favor.
I am doing, oh, in a way I am.
I thought.
I'm happy to do you a favor. No, it's,
That's okay.
there's an amendment of the homeowners association because there's a new lot that's subject to the homeowners association. And under the original certificate of action, there was a requirement that any amendment to the homeowners association had to be approved by you guys. So it's been approved by town council, and I believe this was actually approved a while ago.
You should be a lawyer.
I'm doing my best to try and run in the other direction, actually.
You talk like a lawyer.
I don't know if that's a good thing or bad. It's a good thing. And the other is the declaration of restrictive covenants on the property, which make it clear that the house that is lived in by Eric.
Whose signature do you like the best?
Okay, so it's goofy town now.
So Al, I'm gonna, if it's all right with you, I'm gonna notarize your signature.
Fine.
Can I see your passport? No, I'm kidding. I've seen the
Driver's license known to, yeah.
You're the known to me.
I
Thank you. Was that your free act indeed?
It was.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Do you have anything else, or can I just kind of?
Do you need to see IDs?
No, only Al's, because I'm not notarizing the rest of you.
I would show you my driver's license, but it would turn you to stone.
Yeah, I should know this, but if I could ask you, if you could remind me how you spell your last name?
A-Y, D as in David, E-L-O-T-G.
This guy's so. Thank you. I'm all set.
Marty.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
This sounds promising for you.
Motion to adjourn?
We're so moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.